Oh yeah, I mean here we are at the beautiful Safe Fire indoor shooting range here in Camas, Washington. We're doing a little range day today, and guys, listen, I've been very adamant about my affinity, my recent affinity for the wheel gun, for the revolver, and Austin, our cameraman, he's new to the concealed carry space, and so I'm just going to kind of go over some of the things that I find as benefits to utilizing a small snub-nosed revolver. And then after we're done filming, we're going to let Austin shoot them a couple of times, and I've brought a couple of different ones. We're going to start with the Ruger LCR. This is going to be the Copper Mule. This is one that I really enjoy. It's a polymer frame with an aluminum cylinder. It's very, very light. And guys, listen, I mean, I've got a tactical tummy here. I'm not in the best shape. I'm getting a little bit older. And again, I like having a firearm on me from the moment that I get up to the moment that I go to bed. And some of the different revolvers that I'm going to show you guys today, they're just a little bit heavier. I try to purchase J-frame revolvers. I do have a Kimber here, but I try to find those aluminum or those polymer type J-frame revolvers, just basically because of the comfort. I feel very comfortable and confident that I'll be able to utilize these just to break that contact in a situation where I have to protect myself. So we're going to get into it, because shooting a revolver, although it's a very simple and very straightforward system, it's not very easy. You really have to work and learn and put the time behind this firearm, no different than if you're using a semi-automatic. So we're going to get some shots in. I'm just going to go ahead and get my initial first 5 shots. Again, we're going with the Ruger LCR Copper Mule. I'm going to go 5 shots into number 5. Okay, 5 shots, number 5, and we're at 10 feet in distance. All right, let's get started. Single-handed. Low. 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 And target. First 5 shots, low and left. All right. We're going to go number 6, single-handed. Target. Target. Low. Target. Target. 4 on, 1 off. Okay, target number 3. Target. 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 Good. All 5. So the LCR Copper Mule, this is one of the firearms that I have located in the house for my wife. It being the polymer version, a lot lighter, a lot easier to handle. However, with it being polymer, you're going to feel a lot more of the recoil. You definitely feel a lot more of the recoil. It's a little bit harder to mitigate that snap, but if you get a good grip on it, you're going to feel it a little bit later. But it's definitely a little bit harder to control that gun if you're not training with it a lot. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3 rounds. We're going to go into the number 2 target. This will be the 4th set of 5 shots. See how we're mitigating that recoil and able to control it a little bit better this time. Single hand, number 2. Target. Target. 3. 4, just barely. 5, all 5 on target. Any thoughts, Austin, on watching the Ruger LCR?
And single hand.
But you really don't have to utilize both hands. I mean, I have pretty big hands, you know.
In the past, I think we have shot both with 2 hands and 1 hand, and you were actually, I think, more accurate with 1 hand. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that using a semi-automatic, shooting a Glock, and using a certain type of grip on a semi-automatic, it doesn't necessarily transfer because you don't have the same surface area. You know, on this small snub nose revolver, you don't have the same surface area that you would have if you were utilizing, say, a Glock 45 or a Glock 19. So I think like that transfer is just a little awkward. It's like going from driving an automatic to driving a stick shift, right? Like even if you understand it and you know how to do it, if you don't drive a stick shift very often, you can kind of have some hiccups when you're working that clutch. And I think that there's also a little bit of a transfer on that. For me, shooting these revolvers, they're so small, they're so light, it just doesn't make sense to me to have to use both hands. And listen, you do what you're best at. If you're accurate using a single hand method, then use a single hand method. That's one thing about firearms that I think we do a really poor job in the community of. There's so many tried and true rules. There's so many tried and true techniques. If you're, you know, a former cop or you're a former forward operator, like you have these ways that you do things, but the general public, the person who's using a firearm just to protect themselves, they're not putting enough reps to do some of these things and some of these techniques. As long as you're observing the 4 firearm safety rules, things that you do that aren't putting you in peril and aren't causing you a problem in terms of hitting your target, it shouldn't really matter. But we're such sticklers for technique and tried and true rules and things like that. And I think that ultimately that's what pushes people away from carrying a firearm. Like it's something that my wife has a really hard time with. She doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to go through a lot of that technical rigmarole. So as long as you're observing those firearm safety rules, whatever works for you, it should be okay. All right, so I'm gonna switch from this to the Kimber. Now the Kimber, this is a 6-shot revolver, okay? This is the K6Xs. Now the K6S was the first version of the Kimber, all stainless steel, but it was extremely heavy. It was a beautiful gun. The trigger and the cylinder mechanism, I absolutely love the way it feels. I absolutely love the way it shot. But for me to try and carry that gun all day, it was absolutely uncomfortable. And the number one thing for me in terms of my everyday carry is going to be comfort. So I traded it in for the less expensive K6Xs version that's made from, I believe, die-cast aluminum, but it still has the same trigger, still has the same cylinder mechanism, shoots like a dream, and it's 6 shots as opposed to 5 shots. So I'm gonna switch off to that. Let's go with we'll go with number 4 and number 1. I'll go 4 first and then 1, and then we'll switch out targets. All right, so this is gonna be going from the polymer firearm to now going to an aluminum firearm, going from 5 shots to 6 shots, okay? The Kimber versus the Ruger LCR. Target number 4. Target. Good. 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 All 5. And you can tell that with that dump of the shell casings, this is a gun that I have shot way more time than the LCR. Those shells just came right out. Just, you know, like anything else, you got to break it in. Let's reload. So we got 6 shots, reloading, going to target number 1. Single hand, ready? Target. High. Target. 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 And that's 5 shots. All 4 on, 5 on, 1 off. You want to get a shot of these two? Kind of just see how they look. In size. Also, the handle's a little bit different on the Kimber. Kimber has a little bit smaller handle. Both are Hogue grips, but the LCR has a little bit bigger grip. I've tended to go with the bigger grip for the ability to draw it from my waistband. I got to be honest, man, that smaller grip on the K6Xs has been very, very, very good.